Porsche Radio or its staff.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Life Malcolm Show. Hey, I'm honored to be here. This is Greg, DJ Squid Doss of GD9 Attorney Pro Se Consultants, and my big little brother called me and said, "Hey, man, you mind doing the show for me?" I said, "Hey, why not?" I definitely have my own thing to do a little later on tonight, but anytime I get an opportunity to speak to the people in my community, I'm down like a flat tire for doing it. So, hey, again. And I need to call. Dee's in the studio with me because I'm not as familiar with the number, so I just put it on a piece of paper, to call-in number for the show. Anybody want to join the Live Malcolm Show? I'm going to give you the number in just a second. I want to spit out my number, but I'm actually doing my, I think, second Instagram Live, so people can load up there. But you can definitely catch us right now on the Live Malcolm Show. If you go to my Facebook page, I think you can click the link, and of course you can go to In Touch on YouTube and follow
In Touch News.
In Touch News on YouTube. Check us out. Or Facebook. That's in
TOUCH news.com.
Thanks, D. You don't have to come here by myself. This is my first time. Hopefully not my last time, but hopefully my last time by myself. But again, the calling number for the show is 813-444-9588. Again, that number is 813-444-9588. And you can call and ask me almost anything you want to, and hopefully I could answer it. Again, I'm not here like him. I can't give you any legal advice, but what I could do is tell you what I would do if the situation called for it. Today in Tampa, we had runoffs.
Yes, we did.
And hopefully everybody, if you see I voted. I'm quick to tell people I do participate in the process. I believe in community involvement as well as holding public officials accountable. And you have to be serious about any and everything you do when it comes to dealing with public officials. I've been known notoriously for letting my presence be felt in many of the venues, particularly here in Hillsborough County, Florida, in the 13th Judicial Circuit. I tell them, and you can all do that hashtag, let them smell your cologne. That's how you get things done. You don't get things done sitting around in barbershop or beauty shop complaining. You have to be willing to participate in the arenas and in the processes that control and affect your life. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, is going to care more about our situation or our problems than we do, and we shouldn't expect anybody to. And it doesn't matter whether it comes down to dealing with our children, dealing with public officials, or anything else. So, and I'm a strong and stout advocate for self-advocacy and being proactive versus reactive. But there's nothing wrong with being reactive so long as you have the necessary intellectual and or physical nimbleness to be the orchestrator of your own cause. And I just was recently joined by somebody. And yeah, I mean, I don't bite. Mr. Life, my big little brother, invited me on the show, and you are, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Cassidy Johnson Jacobs. How are you?
How you doing, Mrs. Cassidy Johnson Jacobs? Okay. Yeah. I'm Greg Doss of GD9 Attorney Pro Se Consultants. I'm also me and Life go way back. In fact, Life is the reason that I started the self-representation thing and becoming more involved in, I guess, so-called the court system. Not that I wasn't already involved in the court system, with them bothering me quite often, or me finding ways to be in front of them, but I always sought legal advice or legal help, which I do recommend to everybody. And I'm going to do something a little bit more on a less G-rated version tonight when I do my thing. But I met
PG's
Life.
Okay. PG-13's all right.
Well, I'm either at 0 or I'm at 10.
Oh,
yeah,
0 or NC-17.
It's kind of difficult to be in between. But since I'm on somebody else's format and platform, I'm gonna be as respectful as I possibly can. But I met Life. It was strange. I met Life on a radio station, on a radio show. He was on 88.5, filling in for I can't remember, and he was talking about community involvement. And I said, I don't know, there's something smart I said to him. I said, well, whatever, you do a lot of this talking, but where are you? If you go there, I'll be there. He said, we're there every whatever. I was like, ugh. so I was a man of my word. So I went out there. I met Life in person, and we've been, hanging for the most part since then. And he introduced me to a gentleman named Breeze. Sunday out of Shuel Bay, bless the dead, and Breeze during one of the spoken word performances. Black on Black Rhyme. Shout out to Black on Black Rhyme.
Black on Black Rhyme.
Hey, Black on Black Rhyme.
Shout
It changed my life.
Yeah.
My meeting Life and him. I was there at the time. I was a sponsor, I think, or doing something like that, and he had Breeze come up and do a poem. And Breeze said to me, "You don't have to pay taxes, and I can show you." Now, taxes wasn't my issue, but I'm saying you could show me. And at the time, for those who don't know, I'm a veteran of the United States military. But he said, "Show me." So I walked down and he showed me something. I said, "Well, my issue wasn't taxes, but what else did I think what else did I think I knew that I didn't really knew?" No. So I went back and started doing the reading, and from there, I began the self-representation process. And I tell people, I have receipts. You can go to my website, gregdoss.com. But because of meeting Life and the process of dealing with the people, I started self-representing, and knock on some wood, we've been doing well. About 14 or 15 cases in. I've done everything from, I was telling Daryl, child support, helping guys get time sharing. I've won traffic cases. I actually have oral argument on May 9th in front of the 2nd District Court of Appeals as a self-represented litigant. Yes.
Really?
I've done, and I have 2 cases in the federal courts. One is involving a malicious prosecution where a City of Tampa police officer falsely charged me with perjury. I won that case self-represented after disqualifying 5 judges. And the Supreme Court of Florida sent the judge in from another jurisdiction. And 1 hour, after 7 months of them trying to give me 5 years in prison, a new judge comes in, and an hour and 9 minutes later, he dismissed the case with no materiality. But had I not done that, and had I not met Life, I don't know.
You've been in prison or in jail.
No. They're gonna send me to prison.
Oh, okay.
I fight. And one thing I tell people, when you get on this side of it, you can never go back. So be careful when you want to self-represent or do anything else. When you stand up, and in our community, we should know better.
Yeah.
All of our leaders, anybody who stood, and I'm not a leader, I'm just a guy who doesn't know how not to fight back. And I tell people, if I was willing to fight and die for this country, you got to think I'm going to fight and die for me. So
Yeah, I would hope so.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, for real. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. And I'm in the middle of litigation, and we'll see how it goes. I'm in the discovery phase, and I'm actually self-representing because I couldn't find people to represent me.
So I can't help but ask.
Yes, sir.
Or it's a statement, and I'm sure you've heard it.
Yes, sir. Maybe.
So anybody that represents themselves is representing a fool. Tell me how that does not apply to you.
I don't know that it doesn't apply to me, but this is how I went about it. Actually, I think the statement supposedly he who has represents himself has a fool for a client.
Exactly.
Abraham Lincoln. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is what I'll say.
Okay.
We all are in this era of Marvel with the Avengers thing, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay, everybody remember the first couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you all stayed to the end when they had
I have.
Okay.
I've watched them all.
Do you remember when the door opened and then he walked in, and what did he say? The first time he saw the gauntlet for Thanos, he said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." I've had attorneys, and I've had, I'm one of the people who sued UPS back in 2000, so I'm that guy too. I managed to get that case settled. But what I was finding out when I was going through some of my other issues, whether it was traffic cases, child support, whatever, I wasn't satisfied with the outcome. And I think the Most High that I did not have an attorney for the child support stuff, because I might have gotten tied into something, but I was able to fight my way out of that. And then traffic tickets, driving out license cases, and I even self-represented in my own auto negligence case.
Wow.
Well, I'm gonna get somebody 40% from my pain. But anyway, I do recommend people if you get an attorney, or at least consult with one, if nothing else. And then because you're talking about me hundreds of hours, thousands of hours in of doing this. Plus, my background kind of opened up. My parents are both retired military before I joined the military, so I've lived all over the country. I worked in the school system for about 3 or 4 years. I was a union steward for the Teamsters. So the advocacy and the adversarial relationship I was built with, and without sounding overly African, I have an issue with certain people telling me anything anyway.
That's a true story.
Yes, so
I'm an Aries.
you
You might be an African, but I'm just an Aries.
You know, I tell them I'm an American, but I don't like when certain people tell me things and that you think I should do it just because you are you.
Yeah.
And we can hopefully read between the lines.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
So, and I take umbrage and extreme offense at people thinking that I should do something just because they say so. You know, we can sit down and have intellectual or intelligent dialogue, but if it doesn't make sense, or if I can find a reason to advocate in this manner, then I do it. And I don't think I'm special. I just think I do what I'm wired to do.
Yeah, and what sounds like what needs to be done. You're doing things that others who you would normally contract to do can't seem to do.
Well,
Or want to do.
Well, that might be part of it. I try not to
Hey,
speak
listen,
too
you
harshly.
have to speak for them.
Yeah, I try not to be
understand.
too harsh. I've heard other words for reasons why people don't do it. And I love this community. I went to the University of Thomas Jefferson High School, class of '86, 4401 Cypress Street, Tampa, Florida. But
Did you just call Thomas Jefferson a university? You did.
I heard this.
Okay.
University of Jefferson High School. Hall of Famers, state championships. We ain't gonna get into all that. You know, we're the best. But and I appreciate.
HHS Hillsborough. You know.
Hey, you have my ma'am. You have
This is
my
the oldest and the best high school in the Hillsborough County.
Well, the delusions.
5000 Central Avenue.
The delusions we have here. And I tell people I appreciate my life's experiences. I had 2 great parents. I say anything I've ever accomplished is because of them. Anything I ever screwed up is because of me. And and just what I was able to see. And I tell people here also, I got my formative education in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Wow.
So when people give me, and I coach pretty hard. I'm some call me a self-help coach. I'm a consultant, I guess by title, but I coach hard. And I don't like excuses because I'm like Biloxi, Mississippi, from 75 to 81, Beauvoir Elementary, the plantation home.
Still the same.
The plantation home of Jefferson Davis.
So you went from Jefferson to Jefferson.
Davis, yeah. So when I hear about it, I'm talking about Biloxi, Mississippi, before the casinos came back, people.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, ninjas didn't build pyramids, we did. Ninjas didn't start civilization, we did. So
You mean black people?
there you go.
Well, say that, because I don't know who that is.
Well, I'm speaking to a different audience, but I tell the guys that come here, we're not inferior beings, we never were.
Right.
And I don't walk into any room with some kind of sense of inferiority and won't to make anybody else feel better. So, and you are, ma'am. I mean, I didn't know I was going to have such a lovely guest.
I just popped in.
Oh,
I
thank you
tend
for
to
popping
do
in.
that. I just pop in, see what's cooking on the station, and
So this is my oldest daughter, Cassidy.
Oh, how you doing? I did not know that. I saw a resemblance.
This is my oldest daughter, and Cassidy Johnson
the other word.
Jacob.
Jacobs.
I just got married.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time I actually introduced myself by my full name. My husband's gotten a little peeved with me because when I
Absolutely.
introduce myself as Cassidy Johnson. I forget.
You forget
It's not
that you're
that I
married.
forget that I'm married. It's just that it's so natural to be like, "Hi, I'm Cassidy Johnson,"
Right.
and so now it's being a little bit more conscious that there's a name. Like I wear my ring every day, so everyone who sees me knows that I'm married. But because I'm from here in Tampa, where my parents are Johnsons,
Right.
it behooves me to really be clear that I am.
And your
married
name is
now.
again, just so we can get some practice, some repetition.
Cassidy Johnson.
Hey, okay.
Jacobs.
There. Wow, that was. Hey, listen, people, we're going to take a little break. Again, if you want to come back and join us, ask any questions, 813-444-9588. We are here on the Life Malcolm Show.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Hi, it's Angela Birdsong, and I want to recommend highly that if you're an attorney, that you get a quote for errors and omissions insurance from Sam Cohen at Attorneys First. He's had over 20 years of experience, and he knows how to work with attorneys. Call him at 727-799-4321.
Jazz at Miss Connie's House is brought to you by Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home for the finest care and quality service.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your fill-in host for the one and only Life Malcolm, Greg Doss, and welcome back to the Life Malcolm Show. And I'm here with Mrs. Cassidy Jacobs. No, Mrs. Cassidy Jacobs Johnson Jacobs,
Yes.
who is a newly married, community-involved individual. Correct?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Hey, introduce yourself to the rest of the.
Well, these folks know me. Hi,
Oh, okay.
I'm Cassidy.
I'm the visitor here.
You're the visitor,
Yeah.
Greg. Listen, I'm Cassidy. I've been with In Touch News Radio in one way, shape, or form my entire life. It's good to be here. Happy to speak with Greg on the Life Malcolm Show. I love life. Hey, Life. And, looking forward to having known Life for a really long time, all the way back to Black on Black Rhyme.
Hey, shout out to Black on Black Rhyme.
Shout out to Black on Black Rhyme.
Changed my life.
Shout out Alicia Cobb. Shout out to my people. I love it.
Okay.
I'm all about community events like that. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm a fan.
Wow. And what do you now? Matter of fact, are you a spoken word artist as well?
I am not a spoken word artist.
okay, yeah, me
I
either.
think most people would consider me to be a publicist.
A publicist.
But I do manage corporate affairs for a biotech company here.
Oh, okay. Corporate affairs. Okay, and a publicist. I may need one day. I don't know.
Probably. I think everyone needs a publicist at some point. Just like you probably need an attorney, but you can always self-represent.
Hey, I'm not here to advocate for self-representation, but I'll say this. You may have an attorney, but at the end of the day, it's still your case.
It is still your case, just like you may have a publicist, but it's still your personal brand.
Hey.
And so whatever you do in the community, at work, just in your personal time, this is all a part of that brand. And so whenever you're in front of people, you should be prepared to be putting your best self forward. And that's essentially what a publicist is here to do. We're just here to make you look good in front of the community.
I definitely need one of those. I'm pretty sure right now, after my last foray into the Tampa City Council meeting, they probably aren't thinking too happily about me right about now.
Oh, what did you do, Craig? How can I help?
No, I want to know more about what you do. And we get to meet a little bit later on, walking in to see the people who I'm one of their constituents. But
Yeah.
I tell people, if you have an issue, I'm always willing to let you smell the cologne, knock on the door. So I got an issue with you, or with some aspect of government, and I believe in participation. Matter of fact, I voted today. Did you vote today?
I did. I'm an active participant in the voting process.
Hey.
I used to actually, I was a community activist a long time ago. I think that's almost a decade ago, 15 years
do we
ago.
ever really lose that community activist spirit, or do we just not necessarily participate as much?
Well, you know what happens is you get to become a certain age where you can start helping to fund and finance these type of opportunities,
Okay.
and you start using your time more wisely, right?
More wisely.
So for me, my 20s, I spent my 20s working on, which is so sad now here in the state of Florida, but I spent a lot of my time working on reproductive rights for women, specifically access to emergency contraception, access to
healthcare.
different types of health care for women. And so to see what's happening in the state of Florida has been pretty devastating. But now I'm in a position where I may not be able to speak on the record often as passionately as I would, but I can finance those opportunities when I can. So that's what I mean by, I'm not in the streets like I used to be, but I do like for my money to speak for me when it can.
And you brought up a pretty interesting subject when we talk about healthcare and women's rights, which is kind of, people that know me on my alter ego phase, I've been called everything from misogynist to even the devil himself.
Oh, well.
But one thing I believe, I'm one of the people who actually believe it or not, that we should have some sort of universal health care in the United States.
Yes.
I know that probably would set some people off a little bit.
Those are the people who are untraveled.
Exactly, because every other industrialized nation, for the most part, does have some form of community health care.
Absolutely.
And I tell people, if the guy next to you is sick, more than likely you're going to get sick too.
That's a fact.
So, but the fact that you are speaking about women's rights, women's health care, so to speak, well, actually, they're one and the same to a great degree. And when I look at the changes that have happened in this state, and I still think Florida's a great state. I just think we don't vote greatly sometimes. It doesn't matter whether you're on the right side or left side. I'll put it out there. I'm an independent registered. But when we don't participate in the process, that's going to affect your life. You are essentially, Dr. King said, a society that produces weak-minded males purchases its own demise on the installment plan. Well, it doesn't matter that was Dr. King. I got to give a shout out to him. But the reality is, not participating has shown us, for those who say voting doesn't matter, things don't matter, no matter what you do, right at 62% of African Americans are all that actually vote, are the ones who are eligible to vote. Can you imagine if you were to add that 38%, or even if you added 30%, what kind of difference and change you can make? You wouldn't have lost 2 congressional seats.
Yeah.
Because you lost Tallahassee.
The governorship.
There's no excuse for that, but we lost Jacksonville, we lost Lawson, and we lost a district in Tallahassee that were predominantly black. And then you look at the composition of the United States Senate, and you wonder, well, how did this happen? It was quite easily gerrymandering and not paying attention.
States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know everybody didn't get the opportunity to go to certain institutions of higher learning, and the greatest institution of learning.
Aggie Pride,
But
North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
where my brother is a professor. Dr. Doss is my brother.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
See, there we go.
Hey, but and our disregard for civics, and I'll say my generation dropped the ball. I made it to 55, and not only did we drop it, we kicked it over the fence and into the alligator pond. But we have people who don't think that their participation is going to matter, and for the people who don't want you to participate, they're happy that you're not participating because your voice is your vote. And I don't care which side you go, which side you're on, but it's about participation. So, and we need to get back to being more politically active.
Well, when you see brothers like, Justin Pearson out of Tennessee and the other Justin out of Tennessee, and how much power they didn't think they had, but realized they had. I think they knew what they had, but didn't realize the power that was behind them as they were really gearing up for their move against the House. I think it should put more onus on us to really speak to power. Hey, voting is important. it's clearly important. Look at your state now. If we were to look at the United States of America right now, the entire map, and you see the swath of red where these gerrymandered states have happened, where local, where it's, majority GOP across local, state, and, your governorship, I think we would be surprised. I don't think people realized what happened right after the census in 2020.
Well, yeah. Well, when we say surprise, here's where, and this is going to probably set off a firestorm, but you can always call 813-444-9588. We give and lend too much of an ear to people who may be in prominent celebratorial positions that have no comprehension of how civics works.
For example?
Well, if you're a so-called mainstream celebrity, you talk about what a certain party does or doesn't do to you, it goes back to what you said. Especially if you're in the South, name any state that in the South that the state's legislature is headed by the same people that you complain about, the Democrats. And I tell people like this: if you have a panel of, or say, like the board of the city council members, there are, I think, 6 of them. But if you have 2 Democrats and 4 Republicans, you're never going to get what you want. So say people talk about the presidency. Well, first of all, he's only a president. We don't have a king. Go back to Schoolhouse Rock with that one. But his power, if he doesn't have 60%, he really doesn't have a whole lot of power.
There's no filibuster.
Right.
It's a filibuster.
Right. And then you also have the reality that because our court does not reflect the actual consensus of our Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Doesn't reflect the consensus of the voting population.
That's right.
What's interesting is when people talk about stealing elections and what have you, I said, well, other than Ronald Reagan and George Bush, you have not won a popular
single
vote.
Popular vote in 30 years.
And the popular vote is the Taft
Hardly.
agreement that essentially is what kept him. It was really a cast over from the 3/5 compromise. And you can go back in. I know everybody didn't get to go to Jefferson. Might have went to Hillsborough, didn't teach all that.
Oh, they taught us that. They also taught us that at the great North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
Well, shout out to USF, Dr. Bertolin and Dr. Milani. But and actually, what you have the ability to learn now. So we do a lot of speaking about who does and doesn't help you. But look at the composition of the number of people there. You may have 1 or 2 come in, but again, if there are 1 or 2 against 5 or 6, you're not going to get what you want. What you need to do is to be more active so that you can balance it out and have enough of a sway to get a little bit so that you can be a little more staunch. Now, speaking to the 2 Justins, I don't know if anybody paid attention, but if you listen to the condescending way that they were spoken to,
oh my goodness,
and I'm speaking to people in Tennessee because I have a lot of family in Tennessee. In fact, shout out to my cousin, Uncle Larry of Uncle Larry's restaurant, "Fish so good it'll smack you." Well, that's his slogan, and he's one.
Where is he located?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
I think he has 3 or 4. 3, at least 3 locations. You may have 4. Check them out when you go there. Go to Yelp and you'll find them. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, go Memphis.
But when we don't bring them, we'll talk about them. But we have to take a greater step toward regaining our sense of onus in the electoral process and participatory process. And I'll say this. The voting block for our community should not be getting older. It should be getting younger because people like me are on I hope I have a long life. Like Dr. King says, longevity has its place. But there should be younger people stepping into politics. Younger people should be participating in the process. Younger people should be taking over now.
So we see that in the South most, right? You see that across Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, where you have a young population of 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds who are really engaged and who are actively finding their way into the House setting. And the Tennessee House specifically, I have a ton of friends there, which is wild, right? I lived in Memphis for 5 years. We are from Memphis originally. But, like Senator Ramesh Akbari, who is doing a fantastic job in the House. You've got Antonio Parkinson doing a fantastic. So these are people who were backing
Joe
Towns.
who are backing, the Justins, if you will. But we do need more young people who are active because, to that point, even though they are well surrounded by phenomenal people, they were still standing there alone with, so I, as an activist, only from my activist lens, I'm like, what? We had all of these other representatives in the room, and it was just the three of them. Hearing from Cameron Sexton, who is the House lead, the gentleman who was so condescending when talking to the Justins. They
did a great job because I'm not wired
fabulous.
that way.
You're not.
No, at all.
I am now.
I'm not wired.
You can be if you want to,
No,
but it might not be your thing.
So I missed it. So would you all elaborate on the condensation of the event?
Well, when
He wanted an apology. I think the base of it is Cameron Sexton and the other members of the GOP within the Tennessee House wanted an apology for the behavior of the two Justins, and I cannot call the woman's name, but they called themselves the Tennessee Three. They wanted an apology from the Tennessee Three, and they wanted an apology because they felt like the Justins were disrespectful to the House rules because they, created...
And the session was actually over when it all took place, so then rules don't apply when you're out of session. But what I would have given him is more. I wouldn't have given an apology. I'd have given him more peace of my mind. But
which he did.
Well,
in a most eloquent way.
No, that's hey, God bless him, because I ain't built that way. But then again, my age is that I deal with it in courthouses too. I have a strong sense of understanding of history, and what has happened, particularly too often, is we cower to people that we shouldn't be cowering to, or we become submissive when we shouldn't be.
Correct. And a lot of the times it's because we don't know and are afraid, and we have to shake that fear. These people are walking in. You're not afraid. You have a level of no fear. But when you are in positions like I think a lot of our southern friends are, not counting the state of Florida.
Definitely count the state of Florida.
I try not to count. My experience in the state of Florida, my experience in Memphis, Tennessee, Birmingham, Alabama, even like the
chocolate cities.
Well, I'm calling those two, but those communities specifically.
Hey,
they're not as advanced as we are here.
Oh wow, that was definitely a hit.
Yeah.
But anyway, listen, we got to take another break. Hey, we're on the Live Malcolm Show here on In Touch News, and you can call us at 813-444-9588.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/hereforyou.
Hi, I'm Angela Birdsong, and during the week, they call me the Medicare lady. I help people successfully transition onto Medicare, sometimes Medicaid. I also help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. Please do not try to navigate Medicare without me. It's complicated. 813-476-4837.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecues? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Life Malcolm Show right here on In Touch News. And I am Greg Doss, a.k.a. DJ Squid, the notorious one. And I'm joined by Mrs. Jacobs, Johnson Jacobs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm an advocate for males. And we got a caller. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's going on, caller? This is Greg and Mrs. Johnson Jacobs here on the Life Malcolm Show.
What's going on? I just wanted to express my deep and profound appreciation for y'all stepping into the show. It looks real good. I really get an opportunity to watch the show live because I'm usually on the show. But it's really good. This show looks great. Shout out to my main man, DJ CEO, and his teammate, Tampa Bay Tammy, which is DJ CEO, also known as Tampa Bay Tammy. And I just really appreciate y'all holding it down. It looks great. I appreciate the topic of discussion. Hey, I can't hear you on the mic. But yeah. So I won't talk too long. One of the things I think is important about this idea of participation and the onus being honest when it comes to the electoral process is, and Doss is right. The participants should be getting younger, and in many instances, younger people are participating in the process, just not from our community. When I say our community, I'm talking about the African community. It's not enough of us young people participating in that process, and to that point, part of participating is I think a bigger part of participating, bigger than voting, is running. In the conversation, in the discussion, and so on and so forth. And I think we should talk about that as often as we can, because more of us should run, young or old. Because young and old, rather. We can maybe, even if we can't necessarily change the outcomes right away, just injecting important issues that are important to sectors of the community that are often not represented in political discussions and debates, will help change the game long term. For example, when the Who movement ran a candidate and talked about reparations, now, this was almost, 10 years ago, something like that. Now, reparations, everybody wants to talk about reparations and this and that, because they put candidates in the mix that pushed that kind of discussion and made the other candidates have to at least acknowledge it, if not respond. And so, but this is a really special discussion. Thank you for holding it down. I look forward to, listening to the rest of the show. All right.
Thanks,
Hey, appreciate you stopping by. In order to start something, somebody got to throw the first rock. I mean, maybe not throw the first rock, but somebody has to be willing to participate. But, whatever kind of fight it is, you throw the rock to start the fight if nobody will start it for you. And he's 1,000,000% right. Not enough of our community wants to participate. But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. The people who have our ear, in many instances, are just famous. They're not necessarily informed. And it's no slight to them. And, if it offended you, then it was meant to offend you. Because only the hit dog hollers, right? But don't speak to things that have such a detrimental consequence just for the sake of being different. Because, different gets you likes, on post. But it gets you lack of representation. It gets you, your issues don't get addressed. And to what Life was saying, at least if we participated, you could get their attention because they would fear what your vote could do on the other side. And whether especially if you vote in a block. That's what other communities are good at doing. They vote in blocks, as we saw when this guy, who's all over everywhere else but the state of Florida, despite being asked the question, DeSantis, was with his, I thought he's the governor of Florida, and we got South Florida underwater,
Right.
We have a difficult time logistically getting supplies, particularly gasoline down there.
Yeah.
But your
your hightail.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Sure.
is overseas somewhere. That should
In Iowa, stumping.
no. He came back because he was overseas, so he could try to show his foreign policy prowess, which he has none. But actually, interestingly enough, I'm still drafting a petition for injunctive relief with him at the top of it. But these are the things that people took for granted that are going to swing back around to grab us now, because he was asked specifically, were you going to be the governor of Florida, or were you going to be everywhere else? But what has he shown us? That he's willing to be everywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah.
I disappointed by Governor. This ain't it. I'm really disappointed by him.
Why are you disappointed in somebody that you didn't expect very much from?
Because I typically am an optimist, and I think that
Half full, huh?
half full. And so
What if he knocked the glass over?
then I am optimistic that someone is going to clean it up and not leave it there. So
And
I
put some more water in it, right?
or that.
They go down to South. They go down to South Florida because there's plenty of water.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I think that's one of my biggest disappointments. I expected the abortion ban. I expected, the trans don't say gay ban. I did not expect him to not support our friends in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. That was unexpected to me.
You expected a selfish person to be unselfish once he got what he wanted?
No, I expected a selfish person to still cater to those who would help fund, and that area, historically puts.
I'm speaking to the people
like
in that area.
Saying it
After
into
you
office.
gave him what he wanted, he can't run again.
No,
Okay, so
he
you gave
did
him.
the Rick Scott. He pulled a Rick Scott on all of you.
No, we pulled a Rick Scott because there's no reason in the world that Florida should have two Republican senators, particularly especially the like of a guy like Rick Scott. I don't care if you hear me. I'm speaking to
I
you.
called him Voldemort.
But, some people call him the Hills Have Eyes governor. But this guy was a known Medicaid fraud guy.
Right.
And you elected him. And I have a buddy who used to do my radio show with me again, 813-444-9588. He said, the people who you elect are a representation. They are a representation of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're consciously uninformed, that's on you. What did Dr. King say? Nothing in the world is more dangerous than willful ignorance or and conscientious stupidity. And this is what we have. But to Mr. Sowell, who I know might surprise you, he said if you want to help somebody, you tell them the truth. You want to help yourself, you tell them a lie. And unfortunately, in our community, we are more willing to buy a lie than the truth. And I'm speaking to you too, at Ron DeSantis. Clown. Well, we do share that we're both spent time in the military, and I respect him for that. But just do what you promised to do.
Right.
Whatever your affiliation, your participation is, but he's doing things for the sake of grandizement so that he can get elected somewhere else.
Oh, he's just pulled a page out of the former president's book and focusing specifically on
45,
white nationalists and
that's
extreme
real,
prejudice.
But that's definitely that is very real.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who think that, this whole notion of being conservative and so-called
liberal,
Progressive.
Well, liberal, progressive, conservative, and particularly when you are of our melanated nature,
mm-hmm.
you better be careful who you side with.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they get what they want, at the end of the day, they are who they are, and you need to be very
You know who I'm
careful.
disappointed in? All of the people
Tim Scott.
of color who stood behind him when he was signing the documents for
The 6-week issue.
for the course, the African American History course.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sick of black folks standing behind someone who is not your friend?
Okay, I'll say this.
Sure.
There were certain because I actually read it, and I could see if. And what bothered me, and again, anybody who may know about this, 813-444-9588, there were certain topics within the course that he wanted to take out that I can agree with why you say you don't want to talk about issues that are necessarily trans, LGBT, okay, whatever. But you're not going to convince me that we couldn't have gotten together and say, okay, we may not want all of this. Okay, let's at least discuss the 3 or 4 things you want to take out. Don't take out 33 things and lose it for these 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed more like subterfuge to get everything thrown out, because he also made the comment about useless information. Either it happened or it didn't happen.
Right.
That's the bottom line. And for the sake of other people feeling good, I could care less, because it's almost as if it doesn't matter what kind of pain was so exacted on us that we still suffer hundreds of years later from the terrible brutality that was exacted upon us by many of these people. Mm-hmm. And it's not difficult to find information anymore, so we shouldn't pretend that we can't.
No, if you look up House Bill 999, you can read it yourself. I'm happy to read it to you all, but it's incredible what it really does say. I think a lot of us are only picking up that it's African American history, but if you read the bill, it's both African American history and Jewish history. So the problem to me is not only are we trying to, erase history, even though, we are also a state that it's April. It's Confederate History Month. Did you know that? April is Confederate History Month. And in the state of Florida.
In the state of Florida? What about Mississippi?
There too. Yeah. Well, April 24th, which was yesterday, is Confederate History Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're welcome. And that's why
we're celebrating the losers, ain't it?
Yeah, we celebrate losers.
Well, actually, seditionists.
That part. And that's why the flag is changed off of I-4 and 92. Oh. So during
what's the flag now?
The flag now is the Confederate History flag, which is a new flag. It is not the red X's bars. And with the bars. Mm. It looks like a colonial flag with 13 stars in the circle. It's the modern one.
No, that's not the original.
No.
The red and black is not the original Confederate flag.
Mm. It's red and I don't think that's black. That's blue.
It's blue?
It's red and blue with stars. I believe it's the 13 stars of the colonies.
But
very interesting.
It was a different kind of blue, but
yeah.
Again, I say why I guess I didn't pay as much attention, because again, you lost.
Did you think that? Did you think that him doing the AP courses or the history courses is a backlash from Black Lives Matter, or whoever came up with the taking down of the monuments, the Confederate monuments all over the South?
No, that's just him trying to get him like your daughter said, trying to step into what Donald Trump left behind.
So he can pick up those votes.
Because let me tell you, this thing about the whole Black Lives Matter movement, that's no different than saying, the Sprite Club.
Black Lives Matter is an organization just like the NAACP, just like the KKK.
Yeah.
So
and by the way, far less associations. Thank you, with either one. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're going to take another break. And our last break for the day, I believe, looking at the time on the clock on the wall. Hey, we're here on the Life Malcolm show with Mrs.
Cassidy.
Johnson.
Just call me Cassidy.
Well, I want you to get used to saying that, man. Hey, I'm an advocate for men. Hey,
I see. No wonder they called him misogynist.
Hey,
I'm just Cassidy.
813-444-9588.
So believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pin of sundown. 184-361-RIG. That's 184-367-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy stay by. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361-RIG. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims. best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our last segment of the Live Malcolm Show. I am Greg DJ Squid Dawson. I'm joined by Cassidy
Johnson Jacobs.
Hey, and during the break, we spoke about how much homage we pay to people who are like number 45, and as people of color, African, whatever you want to call yourself. We pay homage to people that don't deserve it. Mm-hmm. What would they deserve in many instances is condemnation for what they've done, mm-hmm. or who they are. Mm-hmm. And it kind of goes to, you talked about House Bill 999, mm-hmm. and there was, and I had some coming up today. We're talking about organizations, but the Teamsters are getting ready to negotiate a UPS contract, even though I'm no longer with them. I've always supported unions. And actually, we have a bill circulating now where they're trying to kill the teachers' union. And I used to tell my ex-wife this. I said, the biggest problem we have in Florida is that the teachers' union should be one union, massive union, that may have COLAs for different areas, cost of living allowances for different areas. And that's where your bargaining power comes from, your numbers.
It does.
So now we're saying that if you have less than 60%, well, now they're always trying to make it so that you can't deduct your unions on your taxes, right. Mm-hmm. And they will essentially shut your union down if you don't have a 60% percentage. And let me tell you people out there right now, even those of you making minimum wage or whatever you're making, you can thank the unions for that,
right? Because
they set the market.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why a UPS driver makes $110,000 a year, and why guys who drive for other places don't.
Exactly.
There's a reason why they have the best. And by the way, we talk about salary. You know, a part of salary that everybody forgets, probably the most important part, is what you talked about earlier: benefits, health, especially healthcare. Hey, looking back at it this way, I tell people, I wouldn't necessarily say that you should or shouldn't join the military, but looking back this way, I have probably access to the best healthcare in the world for what I gave, but they didn't give me anything.
The best healthcare in this country.
Yeah, but I earned it. I tell every veteran, nobody gave you anything.
Right.
You earned it, and what it was, you were compensated for your successful completion of your military obligation. But just because I have it doesn't mean I don't think others should have adequate healthcare in this country.
That's how I feel about student loans. Just because mine are paid off doesn't mean I want other people's. I don't want others to have theirs paid off.
Hey, for a country that's
so
20, we're 27th in math, 29th in science. The first 14 years of education should almost be mandatory because you're so far behind the rest of the world. And this whole notion of being conservative and staying a certain way, the rest of the world is moving forward.
That's why I say those who really kind of believe in some of the ideals of the Republican Party, they're untraveled, or they are very well traveled and they know how much money can be made.
When we say the Republican Party, I was actually a Trent Lott Republican, so that's how far back I went.
Okay.
And then I shifted really quickly, but because I was in Mississippi, so he's the guy I saw. But you can be conservative and still be smart.
That part.
Okay.
And there's a lack there.
Right. Yeah, because conservative and Republican are not, natural. They're not naturally or have to be concomitants. They just. It seems to be associated.
A lot of Democrats are very conservative.
Most of us are. Most black people are very conservative in the way that you live. It just doesn't mean that you're so selfish that you lose sight of the bigger picture. You have people who are voting against their own interests.
We have social liberal. We are. That's kind of where we focus.
It's really hard for me when people say, "Oh, I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal." And I said that's kind of impossible. You can't be fiscally conservative and socially liberal because social programs our fiscal. Social programs cost money.
Right.
So if you want to
You can be conservative.
or you can be liberal, or you
can't
can
be
be
both.
in the middle. You could be whatever you want. You could be conservative on one topic and liberal on another. But the fact that we've polarized ourselves in such great lengths, where we're in a two-party
we're
system,
extreme.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have as many moderates as we probably should in this country.
Not at all.
That's what it is. But you might, some people don't even understand that, the United States doesn't have, the government is not a business. I don't care what you say. I know you may say it's a corporation. They get their money through taxation. And even when it comes to, we need tax cuts, but most of these tax cuts and functions don't benefit those of us who are not uber rich.
correct.
And in fact, the increased tax bracket was for those who were making over $10 million a year. So I don't know how many of y'all are doing that. So if you're not,
No, I'm not.
you might want to close that hole in your face. When
Taxes
it
hit
comes
me
to-
really hard this year.
Well, well. at
Are
the
you going
end-
to teach me how to not pay my taxes?
And I didn't say I know anything about that. But what I would say is this: at the end of the day, we should all contribute to the betterment in
Of
the
our society
Of our
and
society. At
community,
the end of the day,
yes.
again, if I'm sick, and
I'm probably going to
you
get sick too.
especially if we're in proximity.
Look at the pandemic. That told us everything we needed to know.
Absolutely, and I know in this day, in this age of internet geniuses, it's not hard to get things by. Again, hey, listen, I've enjoyed you all allowing me, and I'll shout out to Life if you're still watching. Thank you for allowing me to join your show. I'm not so used to being seen. I'm used to speaking a little bit more than I am to being seen. So I actually had to come here looking almost like I was somebody. But I appreciate it, Dee and Miss Cassidy. I appreciate you all allowing me to grace your presence. Life, thank you for allowing me to sit in for you. And we probably should do this again sometime.
I completely enjoyed myself. I come in, I put the headset on once every 6, 7, 8 months.
You have to do that more. You have your own podcast or anything?
People keep trying to get me to do
You have
one.
a great voice for radio.
Thank you. I get it from my mama.
Wow, and he's sitting right there.
That's my father.
That's
I
true.
know.
But my mama is Tampa Bay Tammy,
Wow.
your girlfriend. So I did get that from her. But I do love it, and I've enjoyed my time here with you as well. Thank you for letting me crash your party.
Hey,
it was
listen, I'm a
cool.
guest. I'm trying to find what I can take to go
Thanks,
with me.
Life, for letting me crash the party. I had a very good time, and I do. We should do it again. I'm very interested in the political process. As I've come back home to the state of Florida. I've been gone for a really long time, but Florida is close to my heart. I'm disappointed daily on my purple state that I love so much. A state where there was balance and opportunity for all people.
And actually more registered Democrats and Republicans in Florida.
Which is why I'm extremely disappointed
yeah.
because of the gerrymandering of our state.
Lack of participation, guys.
The lack of, yes.
They took Hillsborough County, can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And so, Governor DeSantis is not for us. He is definitely throwing his hat in the ring in 2024.
He won't win. He can't take
So
that show on the road.
I just want us to gear up and be ready for what's to come, because the next decade is going to be a hard row to hoe, thanks to the decisions that were made the last 2 years.
And our apathy toward our own situation.
Our apathy. And I must say this, I think the apathy really came with also being in the middle of a pandemic and being completely shocked about what was happening, but it's not an excuse.
Never to not participate.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I look forward to hopefully even bring you on my podcast.
Sure.
Hey, anybody out there who's listening, check me out tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. Go to blogtalkradio.com/Greg Doss. I'm going to talk about self-representation, the fact that it's not a joke. We have a lot of folks out here selling ideas that are not true.
That's it.
And we're going to get down to it, and there'll be the return of DJ Squid. So the
right.
language will be a little different. But hey, as always imparting, at least there, sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More importantly, it's about clarity. You never reach resolution if you're not willing to engage in honest dialogue. even if that dialogue is with yourself. Take time to hug the person you love and love the person you hug. On behalf of the Life Malcolm Show, Miss Cassidy, I'm Greg Doss. I'm saying peace. I'm saying chicken grease. Hey, I'm out of here.